Okay, looks like the streaming is going well. So just a quick recap from last time. I got the LCD working. It looks like I could still adjust the contrast a little bit just to get to fix the flickering. I also I changed the library for the LCD so that it's now C as opposed to C++. So I had to add in just this the preprocessor stuff, just so that it can work with Arduino, which is supposed to be C++ or C. But anyway, so now the file extension is actually C, and I've pushed all these changes to the GitHub already. Let's see what else. I still have to make the README, and yeah, and just fixed some minor warnings that were showing up during the compiling. So from here, what I wanted to do, one thing I have on my mind is to get rid of all the magic numbers. So anywhere there's a constant in the source, it should actually have a name, with the exception of this 8, because that's a little different. But basically things like this 5 right here, it's kind of a magic number, because why is it 5? Well, it's 5 because each character is 5 pixels long, but that can actually have a name, so that I don't need to put some comment explaining that. And of course each character is 5 pixels long with a space at the end, so that there's a space in between characters, which I covered last time. So I guess I'll start with that. I'm also going to make a function so that I can go to a specific position on the LCD with the cursor, and so I can start writing text from that position, as opposed to just writing it at the start every time like it's doing now. So yeah, I think I might start with the README just to have that started at least. Do that over here. So this should be the GitHub formatting. Actually, I'll just make some notes in it for now. Not really properly formatted. So so I'm using an Arduino Uno, obviously. The LCD is a Nokia 5110. I'm just going to link to the LCD's datasheet, and I guess the product page might as well. Hopefully this is streaming in 720p. It's supposed to be. Yeah, it should be. So let's see. Nokia 5110. I should get the data sheet for the actual controller as well, which is the PCD8544. There it is. And the pinout is not really solidified right now. I may change it, so I won't put that in yet. It's pretty obvious from the code anyway right now, it's just in how, right there. So that's good for now. Close the readme. Just quickly push that. Okay, so that's out of the way. Pushed, yep. Alright. Actually, one thing I was going to change before the other magic numbers is in here, the max x and the max y are not quite correct if they're, if it's actually the max y, as in the line that you can choose. Like, pixel-wise, this is correct. It is 48 pixels vertically, but since each group of 8 pixels vertically is controlled as one, as a group, so each is 8, this should actually be 48 over 8. So I'm going to give it kind of a different name. I'm going to say LCD width is 84. Max x is the same as the width. Max y is the height over 8. That was 48, I believe. Yeah, perfect. This is trying to screw up my formatting. Okay. Yeah, so the max x is the width, max y is the height over 8. And now that that's changed, this doesn't have to be over 8 anymore. Yeah, so that's good. This is always better. I mean, the hexadecimal 20 is actually the space character. But if you didn't know that, then it would be, well, I guess in this case it might be more explicit to put hexadecimal 20, just because, I don't know. Yeah, I guess that's okay. This is actually the character width. So another reason to make this into a constant with a name instead of just a number there is if I add another sort of font or change this font so that my characters are wider or thinner, probably not thinner, but wider, then I can just change the width where I should be changing it and not inside this function. So I'll just put that here. It can kind of be its own thing. That's 5. Oh, what is this? Oh, it's probably because of this. Yeah. This opening curly brace is kind of screwing up the formatting. That's okay. Thanks, company hen. Alright, so back to here. So that is now start with I'm gonna call this character info. Sure. And that name is more like a comment anyway. So if I'm writing 0, yeah, leave the zeros for now. Get back to this positioning. Okay. This, yeah, so that's it for the magic numbers. So, just make a quick commit of that. Alright, so I would like to have that function to choose the cursor position. So I'm just going to make that now. And that can be here. What should I call that? Set position. And these values, so it is actually a 3-bit value and a 6-bit value. It's actually setting the addresses of RAM. So So, I'll just use bytes for these. This is X and Y. Oh, can't write the formatting. So, I want to basically do this. We'll be using it there. So this is actually, I should give a name to these values too, because they are the set Y address of RAM and set X address of RAM functions, or instructions of the LCD controller, and that would be 6 and 7. Okay. 40 and 80 hexadecimal. So what's that? Set X and set Y. x. So that should work well. Yeah. Should actually compile this. Make sure I haven't made any typos. Okay, good. Let's see if it still runs as it should. Hello world and test. Perfect. Let me just fix that contrast real quick. It's just kind of bugging me. Is the text on the LCD visible? Is it easy to read for you guys? Wait for a response. So let's see. Yeah, looks like I could. But it's not crystal clear, but you can read that it says test. Which way am I going? Let's see how this looks. No, it's gone. So that's too far. I can go A, C, maybe. That should look better. Yeah, okay. So now I have that set position function that will be used in the string function. Yeah, I'm going to use it here. I may not keep the function the way I'm about to make it, but if it seems to be a problem, I'll change it. But for now, it seems like a good idea. So the string will be the first argument, then the position. And this should actually, I am the one using the functions, so I should use them properly, but in case I don't, maybe I should have a little sanity check. So x, well, x should be in between 0 and max. Well, it can't actually be less than 0 if it's an unsigned integer. But if it's greater than max, just make it 0. Sorry, this should be not that. It should be the width. And this is y for the height. So the max y should actually should actually be 7. That should be right. 0, yeah. So 0 to 7. And if it's out of bounds, I'll just make it go back to 0. I don't want to have an error because then, I mean, I don't want to have to check every time I call this function if it returns an error. So I'll use it in that way for now. And let me just finish this to make sure it's good. Let's try 0 and 7. This is just a test. I'm going to remove this line. Oh yeah, forgot to change over here. Really? Too few arguments. Oh, the way I'm using it, that's right. That's back in, oops, here. So I'll just make this 0 and 7. And same here. Actually, here I'll try the 0 and 8. So I should push it back to the beginning. Okay, so that didn't work right. So let's try to find where the problem is. So X position, set X. Let me just make sure this is right. Command, yes. I kind of feel like this function, instead of being LCD write and taking an argument where it says if it's a command or if it's data, it should really just be two separate functions, LCD, like LCD command or LCD data. So I'm probably going to change that, because otherwise it's a little confusing. Oh man, lost internet connection again. Oh. Okay, so it looks like I'm back. Sorry about that. My internet sucks sometimes. It's good when it's up, but it goes down more often than it should. Because it should be never. So, while it was down, I actually figured out the problem. So these two commands, I accidentally reversed them. I just always expect X to be first when I see X and Y, so I just assumed it was first, but it's actually Y is the hexadecimal 40 and x is hexadecimal 80 instruction. So I can just swap these. 80 and 40. And also this should actually be max x and max y. That was my reason for creating them, so that I wouldn't use the width and height for this. So let's try that again. So this hello world should show up at the very top left, or sorry, at the bottom left, and then the test should show up at the top, not at the top left, because this 8. Is that right? 48. Oh, so 6 is actually the max line. So I should use 5 and 6. Oh, so you can really only put 6 lines at once. Let's see how much space that turns out to be. Okay, so let's try this. Perfect. So I don't know if you saw that, but hello world was at the bottom left, and then test is now at the top left. I'll make this delay a little longer, actually, 3 seconds, just to show that again. And run that. There. So, as far as y goes, first line, so the top line is 0, and then it goes down to 5 being the bottom line, and if I do anything above 5, it should go back to 0 based on how I wrote my function. So I'll just put this back to 0, 0. I can try out the x too. Try moving this over by, I don't know, 30 pixels. That should be pretty visible. Yep. So it gets around the middle there. Good. Let me just quickly check the chat of the video. YouTube is asking if I'm experiencing interruptions, and yes, I am, but it was only my own internet. It's not your fault, YouTube, don't worry. Okay, so back to here. So this function is done now. LCD set position, and I can use it. So this is not a test, actually. This is good. Yep. Right, the characters at that position. So I'll just make that that change that I was talking about before. So there should be an LCD command and an LCD data, 2 separate functions, whether it's writing a command or if it's writing data. So that each one should only take 1 argument. Oh, it's way down here. That should be near the top, if not the top function. Command. Data. I'll do this one first. This should be this one is data. And this is, these are all commands. I'll just do it like this. Okay. Perfect. Okay. So I'm just going to commit these changes. So it's been a fair bit. Hopefully I can remember them all so I can write the message. Just push that real quick. To make sure, it should wrap around by itself if I do a long string, so I just test that to make sure it does. Try with the second one. Something like that. And this doesn't matter if it has spaces or not. Yep, so that works well. Of course, if you're reading, you probably wouldn't want to read it wrapped around a word. But I'll worry about that later. So what should I do next? Alright, so I'm not going to add the buttons just yet. Let's see. Are there any other LCD functions I want to use? Or any of the instructions? It's actually fairly limited as far as instructions go, so probably not. Start of the game is going to say or anything. I'll just have sort of a placeholder for now. This is just setting things up. Clear. Now if I write 2 strings, if I do something like this, I should have 2 strings on the LCD at once. Yeah, so that works well. So the clear, I really only need that at the start, not anytime I want to clear it. Just not enough room for the exclamation point. I could even make spaces a little smaller. Let me just see how that looks. Actually, that looks pretty good for spacing right now. So I could add in the button. Actually, for now, I'll just use delays for where there would be a button press. And I need to plan out the actual game part of it. It would probably help if I've played some text adventures. I've played some roguelikes, but they have graphics usually. But my plan is to have at least 2 buttons. And I could have exactly 2 buttons, because one button could scroll through the options in the menu, and the other button would select. So I could do it that way. In which case, at the start, it would just wait for the select button to be pressed. So I'm going to need another library for the actual game part of it. But of course I can just put that in here for now. So it's going to need to have a map for the different rooms. Let me just think about this for a second. And I'm not going to have the player enter their name, at least not for now. So we'll just refer to them as you. So if I use 0 and 1, I can use the bottom 3 lines for some more text after a short delay. Let's just say something like I should actually make a function so that I can write something like this. Oops. Let's say starting at line 3, and then it wraps around, but only at spaces. So like how you would see on the web, it doesn't wrap in the middle of a word. Because then I can just, I wouldn't have to do it myself like this. I'd like to just be able to write that. So I'm going to do that first, actually. Yeah. Welcome to the text adventure. Okay. The string function right now is very basic. It just writes every character in sequence. Let's see, how do I do this wrapping well? I mean, it's a little tough without actually having a string library in C. And in like a scripting language like Python or Perl, it'd be a lot easier to do. Let's see. If it's a space. Yeah, it's actually going to take a fair bit of effort. I'm not going to do that right yet. I want to start this. I can't think right now. Let's say I ask, and then user goes right. So then based on the option, so here's where I would get the input. I should probably just start using the buttons. Yeah. Yeah, because I can actually, I can have these options sort of look like this. I'm just going to test how it looks right now. Could do something like this. So then that's the menu options. Go left and go right with the little arrow for selection. Actually, if I shorten that, I can put even more. Yeah. Okay, let's say it's something more like this. Up, down, left, right. So my width is 84. Let's say 50. I'll move that to later. And then yeah, so we could do something like this. It seems to fit there pretty well. Well, right, got right to the end. And a little bit past. So I should probably make this like 40. Or so up is first selected. We'll just make it sort of animate the selection through them, just to see how that would look, and just for fun. That's 4. I think that looks pretty good. Oh man, it looks like the contrast went bad again. How does that happen? These LCDs are so weird. Oh, that's the wrong way. That's too far. That looks better. Alright, so I'm going to stop there for now, plan it out a bit more before the next one, which may be later today, just to let you guys know. I'm not really going to have a strict schedule for this, because I do want to have something to show people in the makerspace. But yeah, it might often be around this time or later in the day, and probably Sundays just for the live coding Sunday. But I'm gonna take a break for now. See ya.